The opening lines of today's gospel, the Spirit drove Jesus into the desert. This passage takes place immediately after he's baptized. And it's not an evil spirit, it's the Spirit of God driving him into the desert. And what it is, and that's a really forceful, not just went to the desert, not just kind of passed through or strolled, it drove, it pushed him to there. Because what is happening as Jesus enters into his baptism, as we know, in his public ministry, he's truly, as he always was, one with us in the incarnation, but now he's going to really be amidst us, into the presence of our very lives. And as that Spirit drives him into the desert, he drives him into all of our temptations. As he's one with us, those temptations that he deals with in some way is like the tripod of every one of our temptations. And while Mark doesn't elaborate what those temptations are, but in the other Gospels they are, the three, about the bread, jumping off the temple, and having all the kingdoms of God placed before us. Those temptations that Jesus truly enters into and also faces is, again, as he is one like us, except for going to the mark of sinning, but also parallels with us. It's a temptation to make sensual pleasure part of our lives, the center of our lives. The immediacy. When we see something, we want it, especially when it looks appetizing to us. Whether it's something we eat, something we want to possess, or our physicalness and our sexuality, all those things, there's a drive that we want to immediately have that satisfied. And Jesus faces that also in his life. And he shows to us that, yes, all these things that we have, the passions we have in our lives, are all created by God. The feelings we have, the wants that we have, the desires that we have, those are not sinful. But without partnering ourselves with Christ, as he will say in each one of his responses of the gospel, I've come not to do my own will, is how do we at times fast from those things, say no to those things. We discipline ourselves that we don't just run rabbit in who we are in immediate needs. Jesus faces those temptations as we are faced with those temptations, and that's why we are asked to fast from life, fast from some things, to really discipline ourselves in satisfying our immediate wants. We are all children of God, and you know as well as I how children, as soon as they say, I want it, I want it, I want it, I need it, I can't live without it, we'll scream in the grocery store, we'll do everything. Well, in a sense, as adults, we do the same kinds of things. Whether it's going to the internet, whether it's going to see what the latest fad, that's all part of our lives. And Jesus enters into that. The second temptation, the one of falling off the pair of jumping off, is the center of our ego. God created us with dignity. But sometimes, and we see this in our world, in order for us to think we have to have dignity, we have to push other people down. Our ego needs to come first. Me first, and I society. And that's also a goodness of God creating us in his image with dignity. But how do we also share that dignity and respect others, that we are a people together, that we are not over and above, that our pride doesn't leave us beyond, but our humility keeps us planted. And the third temptation, which is also so cunning, because we all in some way like to have power over others. Not only our ego, but our power. The center of our lives is power. And that power comes to us however we might think it might be. Whether it's wealth or might, strength, how we deal with evil in our world, where do we go to? It's so tempting to be compromised by that. And as we know Jesus, a person, will stay fit and pointed and grounded, that it's not by means of harm, but passion, conversion, of simplicity, that we don't get taken in, that this is the only way, as we see. And those temptations are also part of each one of our lives. Those temptations are part of who we are. And how do we redirect ourselves that we only worship God, and His worship then gives us direction on how our ego is in sync with Him, how our sense of passion and our sensuality and what we want is also, how does that parallel with Christ living in and through us? In a few moments, as those who will be baptized will be called forth first with their sponsors, and those who are already baptized in the Christian faith of another denomination to become part of our community of the Catholic Church will come forward. We will be asked to pray for them. It's called this evening the rite of election. But they need our votes. They need our prayers to stand in the midst of that. So as they continue and hopefully will accept this fullness of baptism and confirmation on Holy Saturday night as an Easter people, that we reclaim our lives in that same walk of life, that we are a community of faith, that we stand with, in the sense of Noah and that ark, baptized into Christ, kept safe because of that baptism, but that doesn't eliminate us from being tempted every day in our lives. And that's why we need daily prayer. Today, this gospel is very short, my homily not so short, but it has basically 4 dimensions: driving, facing temptation, and then Jesus' words, repent. Repent means change directions. Not let the ways of a secular world determine our thoughts, our needs, who we are, but believe in the gospel to define who we are. That is what those who will be elect, that's what all of us already sharing this faith, our direction and our journey through these 40 days is to rethink, relook at our direction, change whatever needs to be changed, that we give testimony that we truly do believe in the gospel of Christ.